Hello and welcome to another episode of Top 3 Tech. I am your host, Jerry Ruiz. Today I bring you the AMD Radeon SAPPHIRE Nitro Plus, the Vapor-X 7900 XTX. If you guys know, my main GPU from the previous gen was the 6800 XT. Sorry, so much numbers and so many XTXs, it's crazy. But we went ahead and skipped to the next gen and we got the 7900 XTX. I'm excited to do the benchmarks and the unboxing of this bad boy because this is going to be my main GPU from now on. A lot of people say if you're going to get the XTX, get the Nitro, so I'm going to see if that's true or not. We're going to put it to the test and I'm excited to see how it looks. I was a big fan of the previous Nitro and all the previous Nitros. They looked really nice, so let's see how this looks in the PC case and let's get this started. Okay guys, I went ahead and opened up the seal, opened up the flap. You guys already know if you keep up. And the 4070 was the first box I ripped, so I'm not trying to do that. Try to keep these boxes as pristine as we can. But let's see what's in store in this unboxing. One thing about SAPPHIRE boxes, this isn't too much of a big deal, but something I noticed is they use the straight cardboard box. Other companies use like a black box or something similar. Open that up, let's see. Okay, so far so good. Foam on top, thin layer. Let me put this over here to the side real quick. SAPPHIRE graphics card, quick installation book, guide, you know, help those people that need to know how to install it. Synchronized addressable RGB effects with motherboard. Sorry. The 5V, make sure it's connected properly. The opposite side, connect to the 5V RGB 3-pin header. BIOS switch settings. Number 3 on the left, software switch mode. You can control it via tricks. That's the SAPPHIRE application to control your GPU. You can control you can overclock it. You can do different things with it. The all the way to the right is the primary setting. The secondary setting is in the middle. I'm gonna have it all the way on the left anyways. Oh, I thought it was a book. My bad. It says it comes with the graphics card support bracket installation guide. It's designed to show the physical pressure, whatever. So it just tells you how to install it. That's cool, we'll check that out. I'll probably make a separate video for that. Let's see, we'll pull that out first. So the accessories, SAPPHIRE. What else is in here? I do like when companies include extra stuff. So here's the bracket. Sheesh. Not bad. So that's nice for people that don't have a GPU bracket. Graphics card holder, whatever you guys want to call it. Some screws right here. So let's see. Let me see what's in the accessories box before I go any further. Sorry guys. Let's see. Oh, and it's the wire. The female to female 3-pin 5V ARGB. I don't know if you guys can see it really good, but awesome. So you don't need to go out and buy one, it comes with it. Oh, you can control your GPU with your motherboard settings. Mine's ASUS, so it would be R Sync. And is there anything else in here? Nope, looks like that is it. The static bag is a little different from the other companies, but it looks nice. Let's go ahead and get a close-up on this thing, huh? Jeez, look how thick this is. We have a triple fan design and a GPU that measures 320 millimeters in length. We have an all-metal backplate with the words Radeon on the left, and on the right, Sapphire lights up. And of course, it's RGB, so you can change the colors on it. On the top left, we have a built-in brace that helps dissipate heat, and it also helps the card keeps its form under all the weight. We have a triple fan socket to help power this bad boy. And of course, we have the ARGB bar on the bottom with the Sapphire Fox logo on the bottom right and Radeon on the left. Oh, did I forget to mention it's also on the back? This card supports 2 HDMI 2.1 and 2 DisplayPort 2.1 slots. Okay guys, one of my favorite parts is comparing these physically to other GPUs I have on hand. And luckily for me, I have a couple of Sapphire cards. So I have the Sapphire Pulse 6800, the non-XT. It has these lines right here, the Pulse logos, and then the Sapphire fans. So this is a non-RGB card. If you're vertically mounted, this is how it would look like. This is a signature look for the Pulse, is these red lines. We have the SAPPHIRE NITRO Plus 6800 XT. It's a special edition. I've had this card as my main GPU for a while, but obviously the XTX is a new one. These fans do light up. They have RGB on it. You can change it through the Trick software or connect it to your motherboard. And then it has a two-tone color scheme on here, silver and black. Little designs right here, not too noticeable. It's got the Nitro logos here, the Fox logo there. And this is plastic, not metal. Not like this when you compare it. And then we have the 7900 XT MBA. This is the XFX version. I'm not too sure what are the differences between the other MBA design-wise, but it's got these little triangles here. It's got this X here. I think all of them have that. So it is a little different from the front. It's a lot shorter. This is the 7900 XT. That's the XTX. Those are probably the closest in similarity. And then we have the Acer Predator Bifrost Intel RX 770, A770, sorry. It's got the Predator logo there. It's got the, oh man, it's got fingerprints on it. Sorry guys, that's my media card, so, oh well. This has RGB here and here. It's got that blower fan, so it has more of the old school reference design looks like the AMD cards. We have the EVGA for the Win Ultra 3070 Ti. It has little dots here, the EVGA logo there, EVGA logo here in the center, light bar, EVGA there. So that's how they look like if you vertically mount them. For the 7900 XT XFX Merc, people didn't like that I said that it looked bland and generic. I still stand by that, and this kind of applies to the front of this card. It does have the Sapphire logos, so the Sapphire Fox logo in the center. It does have the Sapphire fan. I think they updated this on the Pure, on the Nitro Pure 6950 XT. I don't have one on hand to compare that, so I never got one either, so I can't tell you too much. But look, this looks pretty generic. It's just plain. This is all metal, but it'd be nice to have that two-tone maybe. So I'll knock it on that on looks. I don't know if I'd want to vertically mount it. So we have the back of the cards right here. Again, the Sapphire Pulse. It's got that Pulse logo, its signature look, Radeon. It's got a heat vent here. It does have a BIOS switch, 16-pin socket, Sapphire on the bottom left, Radeon on the bottom right. No RGB. It just has this little gap here. You can see the heat coils, and then air can go through there as well. Doesn't make too much of a big difference, is what I kind of figured out. It says Radeon here. My dog's barking. It says Radeon here. Sapphire Nitro Plus here. This Fox logo lights up. We got a heat vent here. The BIOS switch down here on the left. Radeon on the bottom left. This lights up. It says Sapphire, 16-pin socket. And then same thing. It has that gap, and then it has to connect the RGB. This is the Radeon 7900 XT, the NBA. This is more plain looking, but that's okay because I don't give this a knock because it's the reference, so it's supposed to be a little more plain. And let's see, there's 2 red triangles. There's 1 here, 2 there. It's all metal back here. These are metal as well. This is enclosed, which didn't affect the temps too much, so I was surprised to see that. It says Radeon there, that doesn't light up. It's got that line, 16-pin socket, no BIOS switch. So, and this is all metal too, so it's pretty heavy. Of course, that nitro. Then we got the EVGA for the Win 3 Ultra. Heat vent here, integrated into the design, little holes, GeForce RTX painted down there. This lights up, it says GeForce RTX 3070 Ti, 16-pin socket, and the BIOS switch is right there. So that has that as well. We got the Acer Predator logo there, Predator written in the middle, Intel Arc A770, the heat vent on the right. It's got that little gap there to let air in. 16-pin socket, Intel Arc there. The Predator logo and Predator light up went on, and no BIOS switch. So 2 of the cards don't have BIOS switches. Like if you guys want to see the difference in these 2, that's what we're here for, right? So it's definitely interesting to see. When I saw the pictures of this online, I thought this silver was going to be a little more like this. It looked a little more white. So I'm actually surprised that it's this gunmetal gray. I like it better for my case, but it's definitely different than what I thought. This went from 16-pin to 24-pin. This one's only 16-pin. I think the Gigabyte Gaming XTX was 16-pin, and then the Merc XTX was 24-pin. So depending on the company, they'll add that. Radeon is right there. It's right there. Sapphire's right there. I'm not sure if it lights up or not. It probably does. We'll see. Maybe not. So definitely a different vibe on this card. Look how much thicker it is. I don't know. That gives it. I mean, when I put it in the PC case, you'll be able to tell. But look at that. Let me see. So it's definitely bigger, thicker. When you look at it from right here, notice that. So it's freaking huge. So that's definitely it's pretty much almost double its size and thickness. And then that light up bar down there on the bottom, I do like that. And then this right here, I don't know, maybe I kind of like this design a little more just because it has a little more personality to it. This one looks a little more plain, but some people like that, some don't. The light bar is, I like that, but some people don't. I kind of wish the back and the front of this was a little more less generic, but oh well, what can you do, right? So I did give it a knock on that, but it still looks pretty nice. It at least says Sapphire and Radeon on the back, but other than that, it would be pretty generic looking too. So I kind of wish they stuck with this design. But let's go ahead and put it in the PC and see how it looks. We will be putting the Nitro XTX in the Lee & Lee Lanquo 2. It should go in here. It's a pretty big case. There are bigger cases now. There I am in the reflection. But as you can see, I have two 8-pin PCIe 8 wires. But when I rewired this, I went ahead and I stuck another one in there in the back. So I kind of thought ahead because I know I've been testing 24-pin GPUs. So we're going to go ahead and put this inside there, see how it looks and how much space it takes up, to give you guys a general idea on how it would look like and fit in your case. So it fits in there, and as you guys can see, it is a 3-slot card. Sheesh! Maybe a little more. Look, that thing goes down to the 4. So it takes up 3 brackets, but it's as thick as a 4-slot card. So it's a 4-slot card. Dang! That's insane. But let me go ahead and connect it to the motherboard and turn on the lights and see how that looks. Wow, look at that. Jeez. Let me zoom out a bit. So we got good news and bad news. The good news is I am going to make that video installing that GPU bracket because this one no longer fits. So I'm going to have to take this out. But anyways, That's how it looks like. Oh, I almost forgot something. So I'll be having it white like that just because I like how it matches my theme. You guys can set it to whatever color you guys want, but that looks pretty nice. But I'm gonna go ahead and go on over to the benchmarks, and we can continue this video there. Before we get started with the benchmarks, let me go ahead and introduce the top 3 tech PC specs. We have an Asus X570 Tough Gaming Plus Wi-Fi motherboard, a Ryzen 7 5800X CPU, 32GB of Corsair Vengeance 3200MHz RAM, and of course, today I'm going to be testing the SAPPHIRE NITRO Plus Vapor-X AMD Radeon RX 7900 XTX. It runs on PCIe Gen 4 bus lanes. It also runs on 384-bit memory bus. It has 2680 MHz of boost clock, 2510 MHz of game clock. It has 24GB of GDDR6 memory. It runs on the RDNA 3 architecture, and they do recommend a minimum 800 watt PSU. So you're buying this card for the performance, right? I admit it does look very nice. Non-RGB fans would probably disagree, but you get about 110 to 130 frames at 4K on most games, and you're averaging about 4K 120 frames per second, which is awesome, which is the reason why I bought this card. I would not recommend this card for 1440p. It does amazing, but it's overkill. You're spending way too much money for a 1440p only card. I would recommend getting this if you have a 1440p monitor, but you plan on upgrading in the near future to a 4K 120Hz monitor. If not, there's no point in spending this much on this card. Maybe go down to the 7900 XT or the 4070 Ti, or a lesser tier card if you want to game at 1440p. But this does perform similarly to the 4080. It beats it on most games, or ties with it on most games. It's not a crazy gap, but there is a gap on some games. So if you're an NVIDIA person, go ahead and get NVIDIA 4080. But if you don't mind either company, I would probably recommend getting the XTX over the 4080. And then when you compare this to the 4090, it actually comes close in some games, and then in other games it actually ties it, or beats it in some cases. But in some rare instances, it gets blown out pretty crazy by the 4090. So just depending on the games you play, I would probably pretty much, if you want to spend more money, get the 4090. If you want to get 4K 120 gaming, I'd say go ahead and get this at a cheaper option. You save about $500 to $700 depending on what GPUs you're looking at. But I mean, if you have the money, for that extra money, get the 4090. But there's nothing wrong with the XTX, which is why I got it in my personal opinion, and it's staying in my personal rig, because I'm okay with 4K 120 frames per second at $1,060. But when you compare this to the Merc, the XTX, the Merc does a little better than this card at slightly higher frames, maybe like 1 to 5 on average, not too much. So when it comes between those two cards, it goes to either do you want an RGB card or a non-RGB card, and that'll be the determining factor. Both huge cards, both long cards, so if it fits in your case or doesn't, it's going to be the same thing. And it does. This card does get all that performance while drawing like 420 watts. It does spike up to 460 watts sometimes, just depending on the application. So be prepared to, have a power-consuming card. But hey, this is what you're getting when you buy this, and if you're already spending this much, then I don't think power consumption is too much of a problem for you, or it definitely won't be the deciding factor in these cards. Yeah, it's a pretty good card, and ray tracing, it can do 4K 60, 1440p, 120 on most games. Cyberpunk's the outlier for performance on either or. Obviously, the 4090 would be the better choice at ray tracing, and 4080 as well. And then with DLSS 3 frame generation, it does pump up the numbers on Cyberpunk. So if you really want a ray tracing card, then that's where the 4080 would come in hand over this, because they've been doing ray tracing a little longer. So if you really like ray tracing, get the 4080. If not, I'd recommend the XTX. So before I give you my final thoughts on this card, I do want to mention stuff I liked and disliked about this card, because not every GPU can be perfect. But this is the Vapor-X edition, and with the Vapor-X edition, it comes with the Vapor Chamber. Initially, they only launched with the Vapor Chamber, but I think they're going to release an edition of this card without the Vapor Chamber. And with the Vapor Chamber, it keeps this card very cool, and that's why it's a very cool card. I like the fact that most of these GPUs are coming out with Vapor Chambers. Keeps temps very nice, and it's just a nice touch. So I would definitely recommend getting the Vapor-X. I'm not sure what the price difference is on these two cards, but that's a very cool feature, literally, on this card. And it also comes with the AV1 encoder, which allows better quality streams at the same bitrate that you were using before. So why not? Why not get better performance at that as well, especially if you're a streamer. And then for editing too, it does cut down your editing time by a bit. Not too crazy, but hey, anything is better. Free productivity is nice, wherever you can get it, and more features, the better, right? This is why we're spending the money on these things. This is why we're getting next generation stuff, so we can get awesome features for it. And I did get some spikes over 3 gigahertz when playing games and stuff, which is nice to see. Like I said, spikes. It wasn't at a constant, but still, it's interesting. It's interesting to see these cards with the stock BIOS being able to draw that out, even though I'm sure no one really saw this happening a couple years ago. But this is where we are now, and I think it's pretty great that technology is going forward like that. It does have a BIOS switch, which I think is necessary on all GPUs, just because it's always nice to have a, in case of emergency, switch or button, in case you're overclocking it or doing whatever, flashing the BIOS and you brick it, you can have a chance to fix it by switching BIOS. But either way, it has it. We need it, especially when spending this much money. Like I said, all the features we can get, the better. And I love the design on this card. I think the dual RGB bars is an amazing idea. The only thing I don't like is the front of the card looks pretty generic, and then I like the previous gen more than the previous gen's backplate more than this backplate. But it's still a very nice looking card, and I can see why they wanted to simplify that a little more when they included the dual RGB, because that's a lot of features, and some people would say it's overkill to have that on here. So I still think it's a very nice card, which is obviously why I have it. But the noise of it is actually pretty quiet. I have the fans turned up to 75% right now. What you are hearing is probably my air conditioner, not these fans. But it runs very quiet. It does have the 0 RPM mode where you can go ahead and turn that on, and it'll run your fans very low depending on the applications you're using and how intensive the GPU is being used. But I don't like that. I just skip in, just ramp up my fans. I'd rather have dead fans than a dead GPU, but you should be fine, no problem. I'm just weird like that. I just grew up playing like that since I had the 480, and I pushed that thing to the max, and that would get very hot while gaming. So that's that logic I've had since then. And yeah, it's crazy considering the 480 to this. It's a huge jump, and since I said more features are nice, physical features are great as well, because this comes with the GPU bracket to support the card, because these things are heavy. You saw that it was a 3.5 slot design, almost 4 slot. So you do need that GPU bracket, and as you saw, my previous one is too big for this. So I'm glad they included that Sapphire one. So now I can mount it and not have to worry about that. I just gotta worry about what I'm gonna do with that other GPU bracket now, because I have an extra one. But that's a good thing to worry about. You guys don't gotta worry about it. And another physical feature on this is the 3-pin ARGB and the 4-pin fan control header. What is it? Assistive fan control header. It pretty much, you connect that to your motherboard from the GPU, and the RGB you'll be able to sync to whatever RGB software control you have, and you could program that through the Sapphire tricks. You just go to motherboard, and whatever, it'll sync to your motherboard, and that's nice because all your RGB will be synced up together, and you don't gotta worry about it looking ugly or out of touch, out of sync. That gets annoying. And then the 4-pin assistive fan control is, it's not too crazy to me, because technically your GPU gets more intensive with that plugged in. It'll ramp up your fans, but you can just go ahead and set your fan curve in the Adrenaline or whatever you use, like Afterburner. You can just set it up in there, so that's not really too big of a deal. But if you don't really want to use any of that stuff or don't have that, then that is a nice touch included. That way you don't got to worry about setting that fan curve too crazy on your motherboard, or however you control your fans, VNV, I don't know, whatever fans you have or systems, you don't got to worry about that. But they also include the quick connect fans, which is awesome because it's easy to replace the fans, and on that Sapphire tricks, it lets you know if your fans are dead or not, or they're faulty. So it's easy to just swap it in and out in case you don't want to deal with RMA, or you are out of your warranty period. It lets you swap them out yourself pretty easily. Just one screw holds it in, and you quick disconnect it. But that's all the positives on this card, which is a lot. But like I said, you're paying a lot for this card, so it does have a lot of features, and that's what you want. But some cons to this is the price. Anything $1,000 plus is crazy. I got this at $1,080. It's on sale for $1,060. You can find other XTXs for $900 to this price. So at this point, it just depends on what XTX card you want. And I would either recommend this or the Merc. If you love RGB, I'd say just get this. If you're a non-RGB user, get the Merc, because that has no RGB features. I think it's very generic looking, but hey, I've had a lot of people argue with me, telling me that it's that I'm crazy and I have no taste. So it's up to you whether you like either design. The temps are pretty much similar. The frames are pretty much similar. So hey, just pick whichever card you want since you're spending the money. And then the ray tracing compared to the 4080 is pretty terrible. So well, it's not terrible, but comparing to the 4080, like I said, it's not as good. So if you really want ray tracing, I would recommend getting the 4080 over this, especially since they're in the same price point. And I mean, the 4080 is a pretty good card too. Performs very similar. So if people have issues with AMD drivers, they're very biased. Sometimes I could see why, because I have to roll back some of the drivers, but it's not very often that happens. But I would, like I said, that's totally up to you whether you want this card or the 4080. The 4090 does perform better, but it's also way more. So this 4K 120 frames experience is pretty good for the price you get. But I mean, that a lot of the cons of this card are cons on the 4080 and the 4090. So I mean, it's whatever. At this point, you're trying to get as much performance as you can, so that's what those cons are going to be. But when you compare the productivity compared to the 4080, and you know, the benchmarks like Port Royal and Temps by Firestrike, Combustor, Blender, the 4080 does way better. And I guess when it comes to editing, the 4080 does a little better as well, time-wise. But everything I use to edit and for productivity, the XTX is pretty good. But when you compare it to the 4080, that's where that drawback is. Obviously, this card uses too much power. I don't care honestly too much about that, but some people might, and eventually maybe they'll be able to use this at a more efficient level while getting more frames. But hey, this is why you're buying this card, performance. And if you want more performance, you're gonna have to spend more power. So that's my review of this card. I think it's an amazing card. It looks awesome. I recommend it to anyone going to AMD, and I recommend it to anyone that's considering getting the 4080 or maybe even the 4090 but don't want to spend that much. This is a great card. When they first launched, people were talking bad about it. Prices have gone down. I thought it was a great card then. I think it's a great card now. Like I said, if you want an XTX and don't want RGB, get the Merc. You love RGB, this is perfect. SAPPHIRE is a very reliable brand for AMD. It's their top 3. People say it's like one of the best. I have a bunch of SAPPHIRE cards, so they have my seal of approval. If you guys like my seal of approval, like this video, subscribe to my channel. I have mostly GPU reviews, but I do a bunch of tech stuff as well and live stream games. So I appreciate you guys sticking till the end. I know this is a long rant, a long video, but I try to help you guys as much as I can because I know these things are expensive. So it's always nice to see what you're getting before you buy it. But I hope you guys have a good day. Peace. Thank you for watching another video from Top 3 Entertainment. I hope you hit like and subscribe. Also, I'm going to have a recommended playlist, a recommended video right here, so make sure to click that as well. I appreciate you guys tuning in, whether it be to the Top 3 Tech, Top 3 Gaming, or the Why Not Me podcast. You guys are dope. I hope to see you guys in the next video. And of course, let's grow this thing together. Peace. Peace. Peace.